Yeah, hello and welcome to today's webinar, Dallmeier webinar on the new Panomera series. My name is Josua Braun. I am responsible for the product marketing here at Dallmeier. A few things up front. First of all, you will all receive a follow-up email with a number of useful links and also a link to the recording of this webinar, so there's no need to take any notes or anything like that. Just relax and lay back and watch. I hope we will be able to do everything in really the 20 minutes. Maybe it will be 25. There's quite a bit of information in today's webinar, and I hope we will get it all across in time. And there's a few topics that I may have to rush a little bit. So, but as said, there is the panomera.com website and a lot of videos and other materials that give you deep information on many of the aspects that we might only be able to touch on, but the idea is to give you really an overview on what's happening here today. Also, the webinar is on mute. At the end of the webinar, I will leave it open for a few more minutes and you can ask questions in the chat window. Otherwise, we would have too much background noise, but I think everybody knows it already in those fancy pandemic times where we are all getting used to webinars and formats like that more and more. Yeah, Panomera is serious, an innovative product as we think. First time also that in the B2B video technology world, there is a vendor starting to have a consistent design across various camera types, the S series being just one of them, with a really elaborated design with a lot of elements, perspective, proportions, and so on. But that's not that much a topic of today. But the topic of today is really, we can talk a lot about products, but as we all know in high tech, it's not about the product, it's always about the solutions that address, solve a certain business problem, a security problem, or any other challenge that our customers you have out there. And as we all know, we live in very exciting times where video surveillance, image capturing technologies go more and more hand in hand, grow together with artificial intelligence, well, short word, with analytics. Very exciting time that we are all witnessing at the moment, and I hope in the next few minutes I will be able to give you an overview how you can really use video information technology, as we might call the aspect that the two areas grow together, in the right way to solve specific issues, problems, challenges in various industries. Here's just a few examples. You will find a lot more solutions or information on solutions for those specific vertical areas on our website. If you're a stadium, if you're looking for safe city environments, cultural institutions, logistics industry, things like perimeter, how do you create things like smart perimeter solutions where you have artificial intelligence classifying objects so that you reduce the number of false alarms, typical problem there. Airport, how do you cover multiple kilometers of runway with as few camera systems as possible, or at the other end of the scale, how do you support people counting in your check-in area, for example, retail, shopping malls. Just a few examples here where video technology and analytics are really at the key of many solutions there. I want to cover 4 aspects today when it comes to video technology with our Panomera S series. First of all, I want to talk a little bit about multifocal sensor technology. What is really the essence? What is the patented intellectual property that makes Panomera so special and distinguishes it from other concepts? And what is the benefit, the commercial benefit behind that? And then, of course, how does that reflect into video analytics? Why is it important to have certain aspects, especially when it comes to image quality, realized and done when you want to do really good video analytics? And then, of course, there's a few specific aspects to the product, a few functionalities and features that I want to talk about. And if you still have time, I want to spend a few minutes at the end of the webinar on the total cost of ownership aspect. At the end of the day, we are talking about B2B solutions. So it's all about how efficient, economically, how efficient can I run and deploy a certain solution, so that at some point we all, and this is, I think, what we are all longing for in the video technology sector, be it end customers, installers, or vendors, is how can we do or convert this notorious cost driver called video technology. It's like an insurance. I have to have it. How do I add more and more business enabling concepts to that? Just an example, if I have in a logistics company, if I have automated on-the-fly measurement, video-based measurement of my cargo goods, I might also as well sell this measuring as a service to my customers, and I also may save a lot of money by reducing the amount of falsely paid or calculated cargo goods. So this is just one of many examples where we really can make it from being a cost driver to business enablement. Multifocal sensor technology, the patented core idea, core concept of Panomera. As those of you who are already in contact with us know, what we do here is we combine 8 lenses and sensors with different focal lengths in one optical system. We combine them by both in a way that we build them into that whole the optical unit, if you wish, but we also combine the images that we get from those sensors with our software, and that way we can cover an area with different focal lengths, and this is the whole difference to other concepts out there. And the whole benefit, the key benefit among many others, is, as you can see here, we can achieve a lot more with way less systems, cameras, than with alternative conventional solutions, and that has a lot of effects on economical efficiency. How does it work? What is really the difference? I want to start with a question: how do we actually define image quality in video technology? Well, most people would say there's the key performance indicator, if you wish, or the key aspect is just resolution. How many megapixels does my camera have? And that is that funny rat race that we all observe out there. You know, more of the same, more megapixels is better, and then this is what people buy. As we all know, very often more of the same is not really always the best approach on things. And I want to introduce a different concept that is, well, not that new. Many know it, of course. How many pixels per meter do I have? That is actually what I really need when I want to define the image quality of a certain video image. And that brings us to the concept of resolution density. Very simple put, how many pixels do I have available to depict 1 meter of reality? And there is a DIN norm to that. Those of you familiar to Dallmeier know that already. It's worldwide, valid DIN norm out there, and I don't want to go too much into detail. Just a little example. This is, as you can see, in 4 categories. What does it really mean if you have 250 pixels or more per meter? This is a typical requirement that we get from city surveillance customers, or that we also get from typical football stadium or sports arena when they want to do the grandstand security and safety. This is typically the requirement is 250 pixels per meter or more, and that basically means that in, let's say, 99% of the cases, nothing is 100% in video, as we all know. A judge will say that that person that sits in front of him is to be identified as the person that he can see on the video, or he or she is a different person. Recognized is a little lower. The 62.5 pixel per meter is a typical level of pixel density where I can say, let's say, distinguish in video analytics between objects like a vehicle and a person or a bicyclist. So just to give you an idea around that. And as I already posed the question, is more megapixel really the solution, or do we need a different aspect? And what do we do when we have a super big one single sensor megapixel camera? We have way more resolution density than we really need in the front area of the image, of course. And well, the further we go back, even though we could go quite far back with modern megapixel cameras, at some point the resolution density is not there anymore. So I'm basically wasting a resource in the front of my image, and I don't have enough of that resource in the back of my image. And that is exactly the problem we solve with the multifocal sensor technology. If we have the problem illustrated on the real world image, that is what you have, a lot of resolution density in the front and not so much in the back. How do we solve this with multifocal sensor technology? The white boxes in the middle image show you quite clearly, in this case, 8 different sensors. One sensor is also depicting the entire image, as you can see it here, and that little really the first area of the picture, really front area of the picture. This is the overview sensor, and the one that is highlighted in blue here is this example pointing in the very back. And as you can see, even there I have those 250 pixels per meter. Another benefit when we talk about video surveillance and observation is that I can open up as many, if you wish, virtual PTZ images or screens as I want, 3 in this case. And as you can also see here, because each of them has a certain sensor assigned to it, I have a continuous, consistent minimum resolution density depending on my application across a much bigger area of space than I have with conventional systems. And then at the end of the day, here is the comparison in a real world picture. As we said, because I have multiple lenses with different focal lengths, I can cover a much bigger area. And if you allow me the comparison, allegedly, this quote is from Henry Ford. As we all know, quotes like that are typically assigned to famous people, but I think it quite well illustrates the idea of not more of the same, but having a different approach on things. Henry Ford allegedly said that had I asked people what they want, they would have told me we want faster horses. And in reality, of course, the solution of the problem was the car back then. So how does that translate into video analytics? As we all know, a data processing system can only deliver an output, or the quality of an output of any data processing system can only be as good as the data that I feed it. And when I talk about video analytics, the image quality equals the data quality, and the old database saying garbage in, garbage out applies absolutely here. So basically, if I have a good image quality, a consistent quality across a wide area, I have a much better result, of course, in my analytics. And then, of course, this is first of all the resolution density, but there is also a second aspect, of course, which also applies equally to video surveillance, and that is dynamic range. And here I also want to show you a real world example. This is the Panomera view, 8 sensors in this case also. And let's just focus on a little bit on the further remote area here. And I want to point your attention on the upper left-hand corner of the image. There you see a little white roof. It's a canvas roof over a street cafe. And then we zoom in, and on the right-hand picture, you can already see we highlighted that a little bit, the different sensors that make up the entire image. And here it's quite obvious that when I look at the left side, let's assume I would have a megapixel sensor. I, of course, would have a better resolution with a high-level megapixel camera, but I still would have the dark area in that corner. And then with the multifocal sensor technology, because I can dedicate the sensor, if you wish, or the optics to a smaller area of the entire scene, I also can be much more granular when it comes to my dynamic range. So that's a second important aspect here. By the way, you can also see the image quality. When we talk about video surveillance again, we are talking roughly 150 meters of distance, and you can very clearly read, for example, the number plate of this little car there. So dynamic range and resolution density across the wide big area. This of course allows me to use way less cameras than with alternative systems. A few other factors are relevant. So when we talk about bandwidth, how efficient is the data transfer of my system? Do I have to always transfer the big image, the full data set of my captured video, or do I only have to transfer a, say, low resolution overall image, and only when I need some high resolution aspects of a specific area, only then I transfer the high resolution stream, for example, makes it much more efficient from a network per usage perspective. The same applies to the amount of data. It's more or less the same thing here. Frame rate. So whenever you look into a new installation, question that. What is the frame rate of the large megapixel cameras out there? We can easily have the typical 30 frames per second. That's not the case with the big megapixel sensor cameras out there. And then the available compute power for analytics. I mean, let's make that clear. Even if I have a 60 megapixel sensor in a camera, I only have one CPU unit for computer vision on my system on chip. And then of course, when I triple this, or whatever the English word is, if I have 8 times 8 systems on chips in one enclosure, in one system, I have much more compute power that is available for my analytics. And then I'm not going to go into detail what we can do on that end. We will have high-end analytic chips in the systems early next year, and then of course this allows us to do even better object classification for various use cases, and we will also see attribute search in our Panomera systems. But as you all know, this is very often people want the most exciting things. Be always careful with artificial intelligence-based analytics. There's a lot of high-level promises out there. Think about 1 year ago when everybody thought that we could automatically detect the bomb suitcase on an airport. Autonomous driving is further out than ever, and please apply the same skepticism when it comes towards analytics. Nonetheless, there is very viable assistance systems out there. The one I mentioned already, a smart perimeter, where I can identify objects and say, hey, this is a person, or this is just an animal, or a branch of a tree, and then I only alarm or forward the relevant ones to my alarm center, things like that, attribute search, as I said. And then, of course, many customized analytic applications. One example here is our own casino automation technology, where we have AI-based systems that detect the value of chips and chip stacks, and that way allow the digital data management, if you wish, data analytics of a very analog game, which is blackjack and baccarat in this case, and gives the customer a huge benefit, because first time ever they can semi-automatically analyze and capture data of their table gaming. And another example that we do at the moment is ship detection. So when you look at harbor entries, for example, they don't want small craft to go in there, for example. We teach the neuronal networks to distinguish between the different types of ships, and then give an alert when there's a small boat approaching, for example. And there's countless examples of where analytics really work well already today. And then when you have, of course, the analytics capabilities combined with the Panomera benefits, with the much larger spatial area that you can cover with fewer systems, that gives you a real win-win when it comes to capturing and analyzing business data. This example of course, from the casino, but please apply it to many different aspects of technology out there. Products and features. I hope it's okay if we overrun like 6 minutes. Made in Germany, very important aspect. We all thought a few years ago with globalization, made in Germany, made in Europe is not that much of a trademark, brand mark anymore. We find the opposite. Many of you, our customers, ask us very often in the first meeting, what do you do when it comes to cybersecurity and privacy? And we all know with the EU GDPR and other data protection regulations out there, security and privacy by design is a key element, a key requirement of those legal regulations. We own 100% of the value chain, from the design, the development, and the manufacture of the product. And when you have that, of course, you have a much better influence to create and also monitor and control the measures that are being taken to create utmost levels of security and data protection in the product. Not going to go into details here. There's a whole documentation on our website, what we do there and how do we make sure our systems are top notch, especially when it comes to data. Just one word, also, of course, made in Germany also means we develop and we operate in a country that is following the rule of law and is democratically constituted. So obviously that also has an impact, because no government is knocking at our front door and asks us to do something funny so that there are backdoors in the systems and stuff like that. But that's a separate topic, lot of stuff on the website. A few particular interesting features that I want to highlight here when it comes to the product level of the Panomera. So our engineers put a lot of thought in a few aspects. The first one is, how do you keep the front glass clean without wear and tear? Typically with a wiper, first of all, you have scratches coming in when you have sand, as it's shown on the left side, or water on the right side of that image. And with our air blast system, we can create a controlled but extremely strong, as it says, air blast, which blows away dust, water, and the notorious spider that also likes the warm environment of a camera, as we all know. And one solution, one compressor can support up to 4 cameras on a mast. The second aspect that I want to highlight here is the convection cooling. So we put a lot of effort in designing the casing of the camera in such a way that there's some draft, how do you explain that? Draft going through the double roof of the camera, double housing of the camera, and that way we can operate it to very, very high degrees without additional cooling, and that is another power saving aspect to the concept. The privacy shield, I think there's a few people in the call in countries where you just can smile a little bit about that feature. It started in Germany, but we think it's going to go across many other countries. This is the requirement when you have public protests or demonstrations, that surveillance systems have to be more and more often defunctional, visibly put out of function. It's not enough to just claim that it's switched off, and instead of having people mounting sacks over cameras, we developed the so-called privacy shield, which is a remote controlled kind of privacy blind, visible from afar. And it's not only, we have a lot of interesting enough, a lot of feedback from non-German countries, and this applies a lot to company perimeters or private corporations. When you have a strike happening, for example, or you have your employees gathering, it's potentially also required, or a good idea at least, to have something like that in place. And then finally, the Panomera mounting concept. The idea here is to save a lot of time and effort and headache during implementation. The core of it is our quick lock system. This is a stainless steel, high quality mounting plug, if you wish, that fits in various holders and mount systems, and is capable of having a single person mounting. So you just slide it in, and there's a very obvious click, and then the system is secured, and a single person can mount it and do additional steps to then fix it in the right way and fix the camera. And it's also extremely flexible in terms of, every mounting system fits on any camera system. What you see here is the PD set and also the WA360 system. They're interchangeable, and also we can stack different systems up to two S series, combine it with the 360 or the PD set camera. Another detail aspect here is we only need one Allen key for all mounting and adjusting activities that you can do on the camera or steps. And then the last thing here shown with the W, but it's the same with the S series. We say saving cost starts with unpacking. So there's a one-use handle already mounted on the camera, and the foam sticks to the camera, both the W series and the S series, so that you can lift it and put it on site without damaging the camera very easily and quickly. And then last but not least, sorry for the overrun a little bit, total cost of ownership, cheapest or most economical solution. We all know that from any tender that is out there. We had a little provocative marketing piece in the past where we say, hey, a camera manufacturer that recommends fewer cameras, how does that work? We want to sell cameras, and you claim something like that. But that's exactly the key point of the Panomera system. If you look at that plan, that's from the Cologne Cathedral Square from 3 years ago, when we had those New Year's night riots that some of you might remember. Police asked to give different offers, different vendors. The left one is an alternative solution. Each yellow dot is a mounting point. I think it's roughly 140 cameras. And then we solved the whole problem. It's in operation since then. It has been widely expanded. We cover 9,000 square meters with just 2 mounting points and 8 cameras in total. And I think that pretty clearly illustrates the Panomera effect, as we call it. Less is more. Of course, when you have less systems, you save a lot in infrastructure, less cables, less digging, less labor at the end of the day, more efficient installation. Again, less units means less work, combined with our mounting system and the planning approach from Dallmeier that you will also find explained on our website. And then at the end of the day, another contributor to saving total cost of ownership is, of course, that when you have fewer screens, you will also have a much more efficiency on the operator side. And in total, maybe the system cost might be a bit higher. We have the typical question, how much is one of your cameras? But that's not the point to look at, as we think a B2B solution. It's rather the total cost of ownership that play a role, and we have that validated by multiple of our customers. Panomera in use, again, if you don't find yourself as a customer on that overview, this is of course just an example of the fields and vertical areas that we are active in, football stadiums, cities, and so on, airports, logistic industry, culture, and retail. And having overrun a little bit, I hope that is acceptable. I want to thank you very much. Hope it was worthwhile for you and not too fast, and covered the most important aspects of our new Panomera system. Thank you very much again, and have a good rest of the day or a nice evening.